So let's talk affordability. All right, everybody's throwing the word around now. Why? Because they know the power of the outrage behind it. It is the word of the day. It should be the word of the day. It is the major economic issue in the country and has been. Gas and groceries were the mantra during the last election, remember? But not only are they not better a year into the Trump administration, they are the least of the problem. About half of us can survive a $1,000 emergency. 7 in 10 cannot afford to buy a home. 1 in 3 can buy a car outright. A young college grad, that group, they have a much higher unemployment rate than the rest of the country. More are living at home after college than pretty much ever. Carrying 40 grand or more in debt is not unusual. So affordability does not mean the stock market. It does not mean the economy generically. Okay, this is not about the rising tide lifting all boats. It's that some boats are speeding along and others are sinking. Okay? So it's not the stock market, it's everything else. The easy part is identifying the problem. And the populist movements on the right and the left have that. Okay? And the tariffs have made it even more obvious. The hard part, the part that they want to avoid, the part where it gets weird, is what to do about it. On the left, socialism is increasingly an answer in this odd alliance on the far left populist movement with fundamentalist anti-Zionist culture plays. Now, why would socialism and affordability and that go together? Because coalitions are a big part of populism. You saw that on MAGA also. You had fiscal conservatives with far-right culture warriors. Why? They weren't naturally allies until they were. Okay? So, they have time, though, on the left to get it right. Their main commodity right now is outrage at the status quo. And that is very powerful, especially when the status quo is owned by who? MAGA and this administration. You know, MAGA can keep saying, oh, it's Biden's economy, but nobody believes you because that's BS. Gallup now finds capitalism is declining in favorability. Socialism is growing in America. Why? It's not because people are political scientists. It's not because they're researching the terms. It's because they want change. It's not form. It is function. And here's what I mean by that. Look, I believe in capitalism, but I have said for many, many years, capitalism is about how you do it. Capitalism without any conscience is just greed. And right now we have a system that is really crony capitalism that rewards the top and hopes they reward the rest. The system takes care of the top. Trump got this outrage when he was running, and he used it. If affordability is your issue, vote Republican. Energy costs, as an example, are plummeting, getting close to $2 a gallon. When energy goes down, everything else follows, and it has. President DJT should have spell-checked it. He also should have fact-checked it. Gas prices are at the same level they were last year. Many grocery prices are up. Of the 6 food categories that the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, tracks, 4 of them are up since Trump took office. Beef, bananas, milk, chicken. Eggs are down, but you know what? I don't want to hear it. They're not down because you did something about it. All right? They were up for artificial reasons that you didn't give any credit for when it was Biden. Why? They had a huge bird flu thing that went on, a crushed supply and spiked prices. So now the bird flu is past, supply is back up, and demand is down, in part because people are learning to go without because they don't have the money. So yeah, the price is down, but is that a good sign based on why? 7 in 10 of you are saying you're spending more on groceries this year. And I'll tell you something, food matters, of course. But it's the easy part to deal with politically in America. The real affordability are the big tickets. Housing, healthcare. And they're like almost the same. Okay? And for a lot of people, one is higher than the other. You know, that's how expensive healthcare has gotten. The shutdown fight over Obamacare matters. But it's just a window into that. The amount of money they're talking about with the subsidies is nothing compared to the overall problem with costs in this system. This year, healthcare costs have risen 7%. Have you gotten your letter yet? I get my health insurance for my family through my union, SAG-AFTRA. Prices are going up. And that's with us having all these numbers to negotiate, right? Americans have already been paying 2.5 times more on health care than other wealthy nations. They're now being told by people like me that the government is giving the third biggest break in health care, Medicare, Medicaid, then who? The big employers. They get a massive hundreds of billions in tax breaks for providing health care to employees. But what's happening? The policies that they offer are covering less, and they're costing more. But the stock market is soaring, and salaries under the top are not soaring. So the problem is real, the outrage is real, affordability is real. The challenge is the fix. Why isn't either side saying, here's why things are expensive, here's what we can do? You know, again, I'm doing this, out of humor, not out of contempt. But when Bernie says the top 1% and the oligarchs and the da-da-da-da, no more oligarchs, no. But what are you going to do about it? We should have universal single pay. What does that mean? How do you pay? And what would that mean for costs? What would it mean for corporations? It's complicated, and he doesn't want to deal with that part. And I get why. This part makes you famous, the outrage. He cares. But does he dare to care enough to fix? No, that's why he didn't win. Right? And that is the challenge. The ACA needs to be tweaked. It doesn't reach enough people. It doesn't have enough choice. And the cost structure isn't efficient enough. What will you do? Tax the rich, says one side. Tax cuts for the rich, says the other side. They are equally simple and insufficient. Why? Because look, the tax rates are already enough to be able to support the right changes if you got the rules right, which we haven't. So you've got health care, which is only going up, and there is not some home run answer on either side that I've heard. People don't even want to talk about answers. They just want to talk about who to blame, and you've been okay with that. In the last 5 years, housing, it's crushing us. Rents are up 40%. Home prices are up 30%. Why? Supply. It's been a shortage since 2008. Why? Because construction's gotten so expensive and financing has gotten expensive. How? What do you do about it? Crickets. If both parties refuse to answer these questions, hopefully, well, here's the bad news and the good news. Bad news, if the main players on both sides don't get after this, the populist movements will become completely dominant and we will be in a fringe fight. That's it. That's how it's shaping up. Now, the good news is, I think that the idea that many are floating, certainly I am, you should not vote for any incumbent. You should be voting for other people who want to get in there and do something specific. And I think that's going to catch on. Now, it's hard. The parties have all the power and all the money, and they control the process. But if it's just about which side sucks worse, at some point, how many of you are going to say, you both suck, I want something else? Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.